arrival was miraculous. The reporters were hoping for a sensational story.
Mr. Lau, what were your duties on the Hindenburg?
I was helmsman.
What was your landing station?
My landing station was in the stern of the ship, in the lower deck.
Mr. Lau, please give me more of a description of what you observed.
I was on the now platform. That is on the both side of the ship. I heard over me a muffled detonation and looked up. And saw from the starboard side down inside the gas cell the light reflection on the front bulkhead of cell number 4. The cell suddenly disappeared by the heat. The flame became very bright, and the fire rose up to the side, more to the starboard side. And I saw aluminium parts and fabric parts were thrown up. In that same moment, the forward cell and the back cell of the 4 also caught fire. And the tiny parts of girders, molten aluminium and fabric parts started to tumble down from the top. The whole thing only lasted a fraction of a second. The ship was dropping rapidly. Thank you.
If Lounge were fired again inside the ship, it could have been an essential device.
Rosendahl could be right. There was one person I had to speak to help solve the mystery, but he was in the hospital fighting for his life. The decisions that were made in those final minutes before the Hindenburg exploded were crucial to the inquiry. Only the officers of the airship would know exactly what happened, but only 2 were still alive, both fighting for their lives. One of the men, Captain Samt, the ship's second-in-command, agreed to give evidence from his hospital bed. Captain Samt was a good man, and he would have taken charge of the Hindenburg someday if fate had not intervened. Samt would provide me with a vital piece of evidence.
Captain Samt, will you please state what your rank was aboard the Hindenburg?
I was the captain in command of the landing.
Were you in command of the airship?
Captain Post was in command, but I was the first officer.
Captain, describe for us the last 15 minutes of the journey.
After we passed the shield for the first time, we passed to the south and landed in the storm to the starboard side. We received a report that the central smoke was just above the shield. To the north, there was the rain squalls, and we turned west in order to get behind them. Near Lake Hurst, we had some rain, and we passed the shield at a height of about 50 meters. But we saw that the landing crew was not in position, and for that reason we passed over the shield and turned around. Turned the motors to half power. The ship was a little light, and we let gas go for about 20 seconds. After that, the ship was swayed off, a little heavy to repart, and the bow a little light. We took 6 or 7 men from the crew in the middle of the ship to the front in order to equalize the weight. As we approached the mast, the midship direction, we had the jets. We made a turn to the right, stopped the motors. I left the back motors and front motors right ahead. Ballast was dropped about 600 kilos because the ship was heavy in the tail. The ship stood still and we dropped the landing ropes. We had nothing to do but wait until the tumbling crew pulled the ship down.
Thank you, Captain.
Samt's testimony was critical to the doctor's investigation, but it troubled Eckner. The ship was obviously out of trim, light at the front and heavy at the rear. What Samt had said could only mean one thing. Hydrogen gas was escaping and had been for several minutes. But how? Had Samt told me everything? I know how such a catastrophe can distort a person's memories. Tomorrow it would be my turn to give my testimony, but I still haven't worked it out.
Gentlemen, in my opinion, something caused the spark which ignited free gas in the upper aft portion of the ship.
But how did the gas escape, Herr Doctor? What about sabotage? We've gone over this 100 times, Herr Doctor.
I shall see you all tomorrow at the inquiry. In my opinion, no finer crew ever flew one of my ships. I'm proud of you all, and of your fallen comrades.
You think the old man worked it out?
I think he's as lost for an answer as the rest of us.
In a few hours, I would give my testimony, but I was still looking for answers. And I felt like an imposter. My testimony was not born out of first-hand experience of the disaster like everyone else. But I owed it to the survivors and the dead to turn tragedy into reason. The answer had to be in those final minutes before the explosion.
It's worse than it's right. It's worse than it's right, but it's falling. It's crashing. Watch it. Watch it, folks. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get this Charlie. Get this Charlie. It's burning, crashing, flat, and it's falling on the mooring mast and all the folks pretty green.
Play that again, please, from the beginning as it comes in.
Gentlemen, I'm out now outside of the hangar, and what a great sight it is. A thrilling one. It's a marvelous sight. It comes down out of the sky.
That final turn, there was something extreme about the way the ship came in. I had piloted the ship many times, and to me it almost appeared as though the ship was skidding to port, and then moments later it appears to drop at the tail, heavy at the rear.
As the airship was approaching Lakehurst, it's clear that there must have been some kind of hydrogen leak near the rear of the airship, which would cause some mixing of hydrogen air. We know this because the captain ordered 6 men forward. And he did that because he was trying to maintain the balance of the ship. It was becoming heavy at the tail, and he brought men to the front to try and keep it level. And it must have been quite a violent leak to cause that kind of increase in heaviness of the tail. To give you some idea of the speed, it takes nearly 8 seconds to travel its own length, and it will probably take maybe 20 of its own length to come to halt. And one of the big problems would be turning it. The pilot always has to plan a long way ahead and be very gentle in his manoeuvres as he comes in. He can't make quick changes at the last minute. Everything happens slowly on an airship. The forces are huge on such a big structure.
Somehow in my bones I felt that last final maneuver had been the Hindenburg's undoing.
I thought the airship was coming in pretty fast. And then it made a sharp turn.
As we approached the mast, we made a time to die.
I needed to ask Captain Sant again about that final turn.
Terrific, Craig.
Forgive me. But could you just go over the landing maneuver one more time?
As we approached the mast, the windshield section, we had glitched us.
The wind had turned direction to southwest. Rather hard to starboard.
We made a time to die.
What kind of turn? Some of the crew said it was a sharp turn. Go on.
We went to gas again 2 minutes later. Then again, after another interval of 2 minutes, we raised the heavy in the stab, and we dropped water, 300 kilos. Then again, 500 kilos as we approached the mast.
Now gas, 15 seconds.
We got gas again. Castle, 11 to 60.
10 seconds. 5 seconds. Stop building up.
So you were still tail heavy as you approached the landing mast?
Yes.
6 men forward. Get this up. 6 men forward. All engines full of start. All engines full of start. Forward engines slow ahead. Forward engines slow ahead. Rear engines slow start. Rear engines slow start.
You did not concern you that the ship was tail heavy?
It didn't appear to be out of the ordinary. We hear that a lot of ship battling the headwinds all the way across the Atlantic. We expect it to be left.
I had just a few hours to think before I gave testimony. Think. At 17 minutes past 7, the ship turned quickly to starboard. A few minutes later, it was heavy on the full yield of the ship. This would happen if gas had escaped, but how? The answer was in there somewhere.
A couple of seconds before the fire, my attention was taken by noticeable fluttering of the outer cover on the starboard side.
Then the ropes were dropped, and 4 minutes later, the Hindenburg ignited. And the world changed.
Tonight,